"May I have your leftovers, sir?" But when the billionaire looked into her eyes, something miraculous happened. Under the soft radiance of chandeliers shaped like crystalline stars, the quiet hum of wealth drifted through every corner of the Gilded Swan, the city's most exclusive restaurant. It was a night swathed in velvet tranquility, interrupted only by the elegant notes of a piano weaving through the air. Every table was a private realm of influence and prestige, illuminated by candlelight and crowned with crystal. In the furthest corner, hidden behind a lush arrangement of orchids and shadow, sat Alexander Reed, a 50-year-old software tycoon, billionaire, and widower. His bespoke navy suit fit perfectly, his silver watch catching stray glimmers of light. Yet none of his finery could fill the emptiness inside. He gazed blankly at the untouched filet mignon on his plate, its aroma rich but meaningless. Across from him, the empty chair spoke louder than any sound. His hand tightened around the stem of a Bordeaux glass, the wine swirling crimson within. 10 years had passed since the accident, since his wife, Julia, and their 4-year-old daughter, Ava, had vanished in a tangle of twisted metal and shattered glass. Since then, Alex had filled his days with silence, routine, and the relentless expansion of his empire. He lifted the glass slowly, memories heavy in his hand, but just as he brought it to his lips, a voice cut through the air beside him, soft, uncertain, unexpected. "May I have your leftovers, sir?" He froze, turning sharply to find a young woman standing beside his table. She couldn't have been older than 20. Her brown hair was pulled into a messy bun, unkempt strands falling in tired curls. Her coat was threadbare, barely protecting her from the chill of early autumn. In her arms, she cradled a baby boy, maybe 8 months old, wrapped in a faded blue blanket. The child's wide, luminous eyes were fixed on the untouched mound of mashed potatoes and slices of steak, still steaming on Alex's plate. The girl's voice had been nearly a whisper, yet it sliced through the restaurant's hush like a violin string snapping. Alex blinked, as if waking from a heavy sleep. Around him, the room still had forks suspended mid-air, conversations fading into stunned silence. A waiter moved forward, concern etching his face, but Alex raised a hand, subtle yet commanding. He studied the girl's face. There was no shame, no manipulation, no trace of pity-seeking, just exhaustion and something deeper, a fierce, quiet resolve. She wasn't pleading for herself. She was surviving for the tiny life pressed to her heart. His throat tightened. The candle between them flickered, and in an instant, something shifted inside him, not an epiphany, but a murmur, a spark. He didn't know it then, but that moment their question would dismantle the walls he'd spent a decade building, and lead him toward a redemption he never sought, through a love he never expected. He remained frozen, eyes locked on the girl as if the rest of the world had faded into insignificance. Her brown hair fell in disheveled waves round her face, catching the candlelight like strands of bronze. Her coat, too thin, barely covered her, the sleeves worn at the elbows. Her sneakers were battered, soles peeling away from the city's grime. But it wasn't her appearance that caught Alex's breath, it was her eyes. They didn't beg or waver. They held him, unwavering, filled with a strength beyond desperation, dignity, defense, and a sorrow almost too heavy to bear. The kind of courage forged when there is nothing left to protect, except the fragile life in your arms. She was not asking for herself. She was asking for her child. Alex hesitated, as if an invisible thread had grown taut between them. Then, with a slight movement, he nudged the plate forward. "Take it," he said softly, almost to himself. She didn't lunge for the food. She didn't devour it greedily. Instead, with a reverence that struck him more deeply than any scream, she reached into her satchel and pulled out a clean, though fraying, cloth. She wrapped the mashed potatoes and steak inside, folding the corners as if they were treasure, not scraps. Then, kneeling on one knee, she drew the baby closer and retrieved a small plastic spoon from her pocket. Alex watched, unblinking, as she fed the child a modest spoonful, blowing gently to cool it before guiding it to his lips. The boy opened his mouth, his tiny tongue reaching. As soon as the mashed potatoes touched his tongue, he cooed a gurgle of delight so pure it made Alex grip the table. The baby's face lit up in the candlelight, chubby hands batting at his mother's coat, a smile blooming across his cheeks like sunrise after a long, frozen night. Alex had not seen such a smile in years since his own daughter. Something caught in his throat. He looked away for a moment, but his gaze returned as soon as the child sighed in contentment. The girl kept feeding him, one spoonful at a time, with infinite patience. She didn't look around for judgment or pity, didn't care for the opinions of the wealthy onlookers. She was there for one reason, to feed her son. Alex's heart twisted, slow and deep, like something old waking from a coma. It wasn't pity. It wasn't charity. It was the irrefutable truth that he was witnessing something sacred, a love that could not be bought, replaced, or understood by anyone who hadn't felt loss. When the boy was full, she wrapped the food away, adjusted his blanket, and stood. She glanced at Alex, nodding it in thanks, but in acknowledgement, as if recognizing something unspoken. Then she turned and left, weaving through tables and out into the cool night. Alex sat unmoving, unable to tear his gaze from where she had stood. The candle flickered, shadows shifting across the untouched wine and empty chair. Before he could rationalize or talk himself out of it, he rose quietly, placed his napkin on the table, nodded at the stunned waiter, and followed her through the heavy doors into the night. He didn't understand whyly that he must. He followed at a distance, his footsteps soft on the quiet pavement. The city's noise faded as the girl slipped down a narrow alley, clutching her son against the world. She walked quickly but cautiously, as though every shadow might claim her. Alex didn't follow out of pity, but something deeper, a recognition. The alley opened into a crumbling lot. Among abandoned cars, one stood out, a battered, navy sedan. Its windows were fogged, paint peeling. She opened the back door and settled in with the child, using a thin blanket as a mattress. She whispered to him, her voice trembling with a lullaby. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Alex paused in the shadows, transfixed. The baby's hand gripped her collar, eyes fluttering as the lullaby wrapped them both in fragile warmth. The scene was bleak, but the love was undeniable. He stepped forward, and she turned, startled. "I'm sorry," he said, hands raised. "I just wanted to make sure you're okay." "You followed me?" she asked, wary. "Yes, I saw how you fed your son. I've never seen anything like that. I needed to understand." After a pause, she said quietly, "His name is Liam." "I'm Grace." "Liam," Alex repeated. 8 months. She nodded. "He loves mashed potatoes." "So did my daughter," Alex replied, his voice dropping. Grace blinked, something shifting in her expression. She listened with the stillness of someone who knew grief. "I was studying to be a nurse," she said. "Then I got pregnant. The father left. My parents, they disowned me. I've been on my own ever since. We've lived in this car for 2 months. I clean houses, wait tables, whatever I can." Alex looked at the cart-worn blanket, the baby's few belongings. "I can help," he offered. "Hotel, food, whatever you need." She raised a hand. "No, I'm not asking for money." He was surprised. "Then what do you want?" Grace gazed at Liam. "Just one day where he's warm, full, and safe. That's all." The words struck him harder than any demand. Under the streetlight, Alex saw something familiar in her Aisha's late wife's eyes, not exactly, but close enough to crack his heart. The way Grace clung to her child, the way she stood tall with love as her armor, awakened something long buried. He stepped back, unsteady. "Thank you," he said. Grace furrowed her brow. "For what?" "For reminding me I still have a heart." She said nothing, merely cradled Liam tighter and resumed her lullaby. Alex lingered, the song threading through the night. And though Grace didn't smile, she didn't close the car door either. That, somehow, was everything. From that night on, Alex could not shake the image of the girl with broken shoes, the baby with the mashed potato smile. It stayed with him through endless emails and meetings, a quiet reminder that somewhere in the city, a mother and child survived on hope alone. He never spoke to her again right away, but he acted, silently and precisely, as he'd built his fortune. He found the car again, parked behind an abandoned church. Without approaching, he left packages each morning: baby formula, diapers, warm soup. He arranged for a pediatrician to visit, pretending it was a church outreach. Grace never asked who sent them. She simply whispered thank you, to no one in particular. At first, Grace was worried she'd survived by expecting disappointment. But these gestures never came with notes, demands, or expectations. They were just there, steady, gentle, real. Gradually, suspicion gave way to hope. Then, as October's cold deepened, crisis struck. Liam grew feverish, burning up by nightfall. Grace tried everything: cool cloths, lullabies, rocking him in the car. His cries grew weaker, his breathing rapid. She rushed to the hospital, only to be met by indifference. "No insurance, no help. We're at capacity," the receptionist said. "You'll need to wait." "He's only a baby," Grace pleaded, voice breaking. "He's not responding. There's nothing we can do." Outside, her breath clouding in the freezing air. Liam went quiet to terrifying silence. Desperate, she pulled out her old phone and typed 2 words, "Help us." She didn't know if Alex would come. She didn't even know why she trusted him. But 6 minutes later, headlights swept the curb. Alex's black SUV screeched to a halt. He leapt out, arms open. Grace placed Liam in his arms. For the first time, the baby didn't resist this tiny hand curled around Alex's finger. As if recognizing something safe, Alex strode back into the hospital, voice steely. "I want a doctor now. This child has a critical fever. I'll cover every cent. But if you make us wait, I'll buy this hospital and fire you all, instantly." They took Liam. Grace collapsed in the hallway, exhausted, head in her hands, while Alex sat beside her. When the nurse returned, Liam was stable, resting, to be monitored overnight. Grace exhaled shakily. "You came," she whispered. "Of course I did," Alex replied. Tears spilled over. She leaned into him, chest heaving with relief and something deeper, grief, or release. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her as the quiet hours passed. It was the first time since becoming a mother that Grace let herself fall apart, and for Alex, the first time in a decade that holding someone didn't feel like betrayal. They didn't speak of love, didn't define anything that night, but something shifted, irrevocably, in the heartbeat of a man who'd sworn to never care again, and in the breath of a girl who only knew how to survive, not because he rescued her, but because she didn't have to be strong alone. It began with a photo, captured at night, Alex Reed carrying a baby from the emergency room, a young woman beside him. Within hours, it was everywhere, tabloid headlines, social media, billionaire's late-night rescue. Grace's identity soon leaked, fueling speculation, judgment, and cruelty. Some praised Alex, others called Grace a gold digger. In the apartment Alex had arranged for them, Grace sat in darkness, phone glowing with venomous comments. Her heart tightened. She turned off the screen, afraid the light might poison her son. Liam stirred in his crib. She soothed him and sat back down, staring at the floor until morning. When Alex arrived, he sensed the change. "I can't do this," Grace said. "I don't want Liam growing up in scandal. I don't want him to see lies and wonder if they're true." "You haven't done anything wrong," Alex replied gently. "Neither has Liam. It doesn't matter. People already decided who I am." "Then let me show them," Alex said. That afternoon, he called his publicist. No statements, no scripted press releases. He wanted to speak plainly. The next night, he went live on national television. The setup was simply a quiet studio, soft lighting. The interviewer asked nothing shocking, simply gave him space to speak. He began not with Grace, but with Julia and a Vathi accident, the silence, the emptiness beneath all his success. "I stopped living the day they died," he admitted. Then he spoke of Grace. She wasn't looking for charity. She wasn't even looking for help. She just wanted to feed her son, and in doing so, she woke something in me I thought was lost forever. She didn't take anything from me. She gave me something no one else could, a reason to care again, a reason to breathe. He looked into the camera. Grace isn't a headline. She's a mother. Liam isn't a prop. He's a beautiful child. I didn't save them. They saved me. The interview was raw, human. The tide shifted. People began to defend Grace online. Mothers shared their stories. Nurses explained how easily girls like Grace fall through the cracks. Donations poured into shelters. A woman in Ohio started a fund for mothers in need. Grace never spoke to the press, but the next morning, she appeared at Alex's door. Liam bundled against the cold. She didn't knock open the door before she could. "I'm not leaving," she said. "If you still want us, we're here." Alex didn't speak. He stepped aside, letting them in. For the first time in years, he felt something shift, a door opening not just in his home, but in his heart. The apartment was nothing extravagant, but warm and sunlit, with 2 bedrooms, soft gray walls, and windows that caught the morning light. Grace moved in with little more than a duffel bag, a baby carrier, and the weight of someone who had never been given a safe place to exhale. But within a week, the space felt lived in. Liam's drawings taped to the fridge, tiny socks draped over the heater, the scent of baby lotion and lullabies lingering in the air. They never defined what they were, no declarations, no labels. Alex visited every morning, first with groceries or diapers, then simply out of routine. Liam would light up at the sound of the door. Grace would have coffee brewing, her hair in that same loose knot. They shared breakfast. Alex learned to hold a bottle just right, to warm milk, to change diapers. He memorized the rhythms of Liam's cries, the difference between hunger and discomfort. One afternoon, as Alex rocked Liam to sleep, the baby's small hand clinging to his shirt, he realized he didn't want to leave. Not after the nap, not after the next hour. He wanted to stay. Grace noticed, too, the way Alex lingered, how he listened to Liam's babbles like symphonies. He never tried to impress or control. He simply showed up, day after day. Grace had never known love that didn't ask for anything back. Never known a man to simply be present not to fix her, but to walk beside her. In those quiet hours, a new kind of bond formed, slow, deep, born of persistence rather than passion. One evening, after Liam finally slept, Grace and Alex sat on the balcony, silent. The city glimmered below, but neither looked down. When I lost Julia and Ava, Alex said softly, I thought that part of me died. The part that wanted to care, to belong, to be needed. You didn't lose it, Grace whispered. It just waited. They didn't kiss that night. They didn't have to. The moment stretched between them, a promise unspoken but understood. In that moment, Grace literally smiled. For the first time in years, Alex smiled back, a smile lit from within. They were not lovers, not yet a family in name, but something stronger, two people broken by loss, now finding in each other the slow beginning of home. One afternoon, a plain white envelope arrived, wedged beneath the door. Grace stared at it for a long time before opening it. The handwriting was unmistakably her mother's. Just a few lines. No apology, no drama. Simple words, if there's still a chance to know my grandson, I'd like to try. Grace sat at the kitchen table for an hour, the letter in her hands, while Liam played at her feet. She didn't cry or rage, only sat in thick silence. When Alex arrived, she handed him the note. She wrote, Grace said. He sat beside her. What are you thinking? I don't know, she admitted. It's been almost 2 years since they spoke to me, since they told me I was no longer their daughter. You don't owe them anything, Alex said gently. But Liam, doesn't he deserve to know where he comes from, even if it's broken? Don't let him grow up with the same emptiness. Let him have the chance to forgive you or not, but let him choose. 3 days later, they drove to the small town Grace once called home. Her parents' house stood at the end of a gravel drive, white paint faded, porch swing creaking. Grace hesitated outside, Liam on her hip, Alex behind her. The door opened. Her mother stepped out mid-50s, sharp features softened by sorrow. For a moment, no one moved. Then, her mother's eyes filled with tears. I wasn't strong, she whispered, voice shaking. I was scared of what people would think, of losing you. And I lost you anyway. Grace said nothing, jaw set. Her father appeared behind her mother, older than she remembered, hands trembling. He looked at Liam as if seeing something holy. The boy reached out, not knowing the history, not caring, just curious. That shattered everything. Her mother broke down, stepping forward, arms open but uncertain. May I hold him? Grace hesitated, then placed Liam in her mother's arms. The older woman clutched him, sobbing softly. Alex watched, not part of the moment, but deeply moved by it. When Grace stepped forward and hugged her mother, the past wasn't erased, but it was softened. Forgiveness was not sudden, but a slow sunrise. That afternoon, 3 generations sat around the old kitchen table. Grace's mother served tea. Her father bounced Liam on his knee, and laughter returned to the house. Grace caught Alex's gaze and mouthed, "Thank you." He shook his head, smiling. "No, thank you, for going home." 1 year later, the world had changed, but only in the ways that mattered. The noise faded, headlines vanished. In their place was life. On a bright spring afternoon, they returned to the park where it all began. The breeze whispered through the trees, golden sunlight bathing the field. No photographers, no grand ceremonies, a small group of friends, a linen cloth under an old oak, a simple arch wrapped in ivy. At the center stood Liam, nearly 2, in a navy vest and bootie, clutching a small velvet box. He wobbled across the grass, determined to deliver it to Alex, who waited in a soft gray blazer. Hair longer now, touched with silver, eyes sparkling with hope. Liam handed him the box, giggling, then toddled back to Grace, who stood barefoot in a white dress, radiant not from the gown, but from the light in her eyes. Alex knelt, the world holding its breath. "You didn't ask for anything," he said, voice steady but thick with emotion. "You didn't beg, you didn't expect. You showed up on the worst night of your life and gave me a chance to remember what it's like to be needed, to be alive." He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "You didn't take my leftovers, Grace. You gave me everything I didn't know I was missing. You gave me family." You gave me love. You gave me a future. Will you marry me? She covered her mouth, eyes brimming, and nodded, laughing through her tears. Yes, she whispered. They embraced. Puzzle pieces finally found. The minister kept the ceremony brief while Liam played at their feet. But it was during the vows, as Alex promised to love not just Grace, but the son who brought them together, that Liam wandered over and hugged Alex's leg. Daddy, he chirped. Alex scooped him up, holding both Grace and Liam in his arms. I love you, son, he whispered. In that embrace, under the sun, everything broken was made whole. Alex had not rescued Grace. She had rescued him from grief, from loneliness, from a life so perfect and empty it nearly consumed him. In its place, a new family was born, not from blood, not from planning, but from a question and a plate of mashed potatoes. They were not perfect, they didn't need to be. They were together, and that was enough. So, from a single whisper in a luxury restaurant, a story of love, redemption, and second chances unfolded. What began as a request for leftovers became a journey redefining family. Alex didn't just open his heart, he opened his life. Grace didn't just survive, she found home. And little Liam, once cradled in a stranger's arms, now walked beside a father who chose him not by blood, but by love. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary stories are born from the quietest moments.